Makers, and the co-author of the book, How to Dominate the Decade. My mission is to empower through education. Thank you very much for joining us. And today I have the honor to talk with Dana and Nick Haselum. They are both calling today from UK, London. So Dana, tell us your story and why are you doing what you're doing and what is your passion? And obviously we will continue with Nick doing the same.
Not a problem. What's up, guys? Really lovely. Thank you so much, Ragnar, for having us today. We're so happy to be part of this of Dominate the Decade series. My husband and I, we've been married for 4 years now. During this time, we've been traveling and we've been just taking some time to reflect on our lives and build ourselves. But not only that, but to also extend our passion for personal development to others as well. So one of the things I have grown up knowing or understanding is a struggle. So a lot of us, we're faced with so many struggles that we are clouded by it. Our judgments are clouded by it. We can become so emotional about it. And as I started speaking at the age of 6, and during my time while growing up, I've been faced with so many obstacles to overcome, which unfortunately also included domestic abuse within my personal life. And because of the turmoil that I have faced as an individual, and I came out on the other side, I have been so inspired to help other people, Ragnar, because the message needs to be out there for somebody else to connect with, and in any way that we can inspire people, that is what my heart has always been about. And not too long after I've met my husband during my process of self-reflection, and we both share within that passion of personal development and helping others. And when we connected, we decided to form a program that is called Mindset Mastery, and I believe Nick will speak a bit more about that. But what I wanted to say firstly is that we are individuals, Ragni. Apart from just, well, you've asked, who are you? And a lot of times when we're leaders, when we're professionals or whatever sphere we're involved in, we're quick to think, oh, well, I am a doctor, or I'm a lawyer, or I'm a life coach, or I'm a speaker, or this award-winning person. But who are we? When we really think about it, we are individuals at the very core. And I believe it's at that point that I start thinking about our own self-reflection. We all have fears. We all have failures. We all share problems. Problems is a natural part of life. And I believe first we have to take that time as individuals to develop ourselves. And that is my absolute passion, just to see people build themselves and really create what is the best, absolutely best version of themselves, to lead healthy lives, to lead happy lives, to have fun and adventure. And this is what life is all about. So I believe I'm going to leave Nick now to have his turn.
Well, thank you very much. So I find that the best version of ourselves really sums up what we're trying to achieve both in our lives and what we're trying to share with everybody else who we interact with. So I'm really proud and just so happy to be working with my wife and sharing our passion and our hobby, our favorite subject, which we were sharing ever since we met, really. And that was to talk about strategies for leading a better life, a better mindset, philosophy books from Marcus Aurelius to anything really. And that's certainly one of our favorite topics to discuss with each other, and I really enjoy it when we can share it with other people. And it's this passion that's led us to create our program, which we've been using in group and corporate coaching, which is called Mindset Mastery. And this shares what we've learned over the years, and we've condensed it into topics that we think will be the most helpful. So that'll be overcoming fear, stress management, and goal setting, to name a few. And I'm really looking forward to discussing this topic with you and our viewers today, as I really feel it's one of the more essential aspects of what mindset mastery means to us. And that is two parts. It's resilience, to take the problems of today and spring back to a normal state as quickly as possible, and also motivation, like the fuel in the tank, to keep moving forward to what you want to achieve in life. So yeah, that's just a little bit about us, really.
Well, if anyone would now look at you and thinking like, okay, they're from UK. How did you guys met? So what is the story there? We understand that you connected immediately. You have the same mindset. You have everything. But how did a girl from Trinidad and Tobago ended up living in London? It's a quite of an exchange of everything, starting from culture, ending up with weather.
That's it.
Yeah, so we met via a mutual friend over in Trinidad, and I was spending some time over there because I have some family over there as well. And we met by this mutual friend, and we started talking online, and we'd passed it back and forth. And one of the first things that we noticed about each other was just our passion and commitment for getting the best out of life. And we met in person in quite an unusual way as well, which was at the airport on the way to do a trip around Europe from England to Barcelona, all the way through Europe, the long route down to Athens. And there was a lot of experiences that I'd done for the first time, and my wife for the first time, skydiving and bungee jumping. And I've never heard anyone else doing something similar like that. But that's another one of our passions, is travel, and really being able to do, if you can do something, then why not? You can just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I think that is so sorry. I think that is why
the quick course, in a sense that you put everything in one trip. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then let's not waste time. Very smart. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I believe just to build on what Nick has been saying, apart from the first book that I've written, which is Power from Pain, we're co-authoring a book now that's based on relationships. It's lasting love, and which will be launched later on, probably later on this year. So we're really looking forward to sharing more of our journeys with other people, and also strategies, because I believe you can have a happy life. I've understood what an unhappy life is, what a stressful life could be, and I now, having that experience of knowing what a happy marriage is all about, what a happy life, a fulfilling life is all about, want to really share that message with somebody else.
So let's talk about now your, let's say, your core strength, which is the motivation and the resilience. So what is the role of the self-motivation and resilience? And I would even say just for leaders, but I think every person is a leader of our own lives as well. So what is the role in those difficult during those difficult times?
Well, first of all, as a child, I've been looking at my father looking at John Maxwell books. And coincidentally, I realized you've also been a part of his team, being a John Maxwell coach. And one of the things that John Maxwell said that really stood out to me: life is 10% of what happens to me. and 90% of how I respond or how I react to it. And I believe that is very important in the whole idea of bouncing back up again, getting back up when it is you fall, or when it is we face turmoils and difficulties. And as we know, we're faced with COVID-19 at the moment, where people, their businesses are in jeopardy. They've lost loved ones. We've had people losing jobs. It is quite a really sad time for many of us. And I believe that this is where self-motivation and resilience especially comes into play, when it is we think about having to get back up, having to find a strategy to build myself up again after all of these things that I face. Again, life is faced with so many challenges. I have faced it in my own life. My husband has faced it. It is all of us within this, within that sphere of problem, but it's how we respond to it. And why do we need resilience? When it is I think about resilience, I think about a rubber band a lot of times, and it's bouncing back up again. We definitely need to find a way of bouncing back so that we will gain the confidence that we need to move on again. It helps us in reducing stress. It helps us get on living life without any regrets. It gives us the career advancements and opportunities that we need, and overall our productivities, instead of being just stuck on just one thing in life, we can move on to other challenges. We can really pursue our passions, pursue our dreams. And after all, this is what we need to grow and to build as individuals, as professionals, as leaders, whatever sphere of life we are in. So I believe my husband will have anything else to say on that.
Yes, so I think it's also important to know why you need to be resilient and when you need to get motivated. And it's, for me, I find that people, us as leaders and everybody in general, will encounter certain adversities such as failure or disappointment, or if you've invested your time or your money into something and that's gone nowhere, or if you're trying your hardest to learn a skill or get through fully with a career opportunity, and it's just you're spinning your wheels and you're not getting anywhere. You'll find these problems and these adversities, and it's a case of how best can you take these problems and turn them into opportunities. And there's an excellent example going on right now, which is the current pandemic, which is COVID-19, where people's businesses and their day-to-day lives have been completely turned around. Most people can't leave the house, and there's things which you've planned for 2020, which have just completely gone, and you won't be able to take on that kind of 2020 anymore. And it's a question of reviewing and seeing what other opportunities are available for you, and then using this, which is resilience, to collect yourself and move forward and have that energy and power, which is the motivation, to keep going and then change what was one plan for a possibly even greater plan, which you would have never have thought of had this issue had never arisen in the first place. There's plenty of opportunities for advancement and enhancement there. And I think there's just a little technique that I'd like to share, really, which is just a moment that I like to use whenever there's adversity that I'm experiencing in my life, which is, we've given it a name, which is the I-re-silence process, which is a little wordplay on resilience. There's an extra I in there. And re-silence the mind. So there's a lot of negative mental chatter that will always be chatting away in your head, saying that, no, you're not good enough to do this particular task, or what if a certain complication arises from the virus, or how can I possibly overcome this? There's always this negative mental chatter there, and it's a nice little trick to pull yourself back and put yourself into a place which is a lot more peaceful and a lot more positive. So what it is you'll feel like, for example, anxiety, where your heart rate will be increased, you'll be a little bit more nervous, your voice will be shaky, and you'll just take a moment and say, hey, this is anxiety. And then you can sit there with it for a moment and just pay attention to the anxiety. Take a moment to feel how that feels. And then there's two ways you can take this anxiety. It could be that it's the worst possible outcome, so it's a disappointment or a failure, but at the same time, it could be a success in the making. It could be something really positive. And generally, if you're feeling uncomfortable, you know that you're heading in the right direction when you're trying to make an action. And with this negative feeling that you're experiencing at the moment, you can just say something that I like to think of, which is, this too shall pass. And this goes for both negative and positive experiences, where eventually everything will come to an end, and this situation shall pass as well. And that just removes some of the pressure from you so that you can continue with your day, and you feel a lot more centered and calm for that. So that's just a little trick. So that's, pay attention to the negative experience, and then what if it's a success in the making, and this too shall pass. So I'll just pass back to my wife. Oh, Ragni, sorry.
Well, you talked about the self-motivation, resilience, but let's help the audience to deconstruct a little more. Like, what are the pillars for both, for the self-motivation and for the resilience?
All right. So we believe that there are a few pillars of self-motivation and resilience. So first of all, I would like to share what we believe of a working definition for resilience. I believe that can be helpful. So it's ability to sustain a state of positivity and focus amidst difficulty, adversity, and trauma, tragedy, or stress. So it's returning to a positive mindset after you have experienced difficulty or setbacks. So we believe that motivation, self-motivation, and resilience work hand in hand, because the self-motivation is literally the fuel that you need to get bouncing back all again. So the hallmarks of resilience are as follows. So first of all, we have to challenge ourselves and put our creativity to work. So many of us during this time, we find that during the pandemic, I started putting my creativity to work, having a business, having to think about strategies. How can I really reach my clients? How can I reach my audience during this time, where in times past, we've held the majority of seminars face-to-face and groups within libraries and stuff like that, different venues. And that in itself was a challenge, having to reconsider, okay, how can I really do the same thing all over again, but within this whole situation. So it's brought about that level of creativity, taking it online, connecting with people via social media a lot more, using the online platform more than just the face-to-face. So it's really challenging ourselves to get out of the box and really putting our creativity at work. And again, one thing that works for one person may not work for the other, but definitely we can learn from each other and build and grow. I've also found that even having a mastermind group is so important during this time, just to help you get back up, just to gain strength. And that's why I must compliment Ragni for the excellent work you're doing with the Dominate the Decade series, because we can learn, we can really hear from professionals from all walks of life, all around the world, who can really reach out and tell us, give us strategies, proven strategies that can get us up and going again. So really connecting to the right source, connecting to right people is very essential in boosting our resilience. I've also found that reflecting on our progress is so important. Like, I don't know if you'll agree with me, Nick and Ragni, but whenever I do something, whenever I have a list of goals, and when I complete them, I feel so inspired to do more. And that in itself serves to help with my resilience. So sometimes it means going back thinking, what are the things that I've succeeded at last year in 2019? What are the things I succeeded at during 2008, during that difficulty, if I would have been in business back in that time? I can learn from those experiences and reflect on my progress and be happy, be really happy, applaud myself, and also use that as an opportunity just to encourage myself to move forward during this difficult time. Practice mindfulness daily, and my husband made mention of resilencing your mind, really taking time to resilence what's going around you. Sometimes it means just getting up close and personal with yourself, away from everything, and just taking a time to reflect. Connection is good, so connecting with people online is perfectly fine, but just taking that time away from all the connection, and we have that perfect spare right now because we're all in lockdown, guys. So we can just take that time to just reflect, take that time to write down the things that I'm grateful for today. Even though I'm faced with all of this, there are things that I should be grateful for. Just take time and be mindful of that. Stay focused. How do I stay focused? I stay focused, first of all, by knowing what I need to know. So my husband will go through a bit about goals, but goals is an important part in staying focused. Really and truly, I believe that your physical and mental health plays an important part. So really take time, I believe, exercising, drinking water. I'm going to have a sip like right now. Drink your water. You take time to really, whether it's connect spiritually. I take my time to pray in the morning time with my husband. We share devotions together. And I think building on your emotional, your mental health really gives you and fortifies you to become more and more resilient. And that is so important. And last but not least, for the hallmarks of resilience, I say that we have to have fun and enjoy life. Life is made to be enjoyed. Yes, we have so much things to do. Oftentimes as business people or professionals or whatever sphere we're in, we can get so busy. We're busy, busy, busy every single moment. And I'm telling you, this is from a personal experience. Sometimes it's trying to figure out, where do I get the time to do everything in one day, in 24 hours? It's so hard. But during that time, what are the things that are really important? It's our families, it's our relationships, it's our marriages. We should take time to connect with the people that we love. We should take time to enjoy the flowers in the garden and getting close and personal with nature. Just taking time to appreciate life. And I believe that in itself is going to boost you and fortify you to become more and more resilient as person. So I believe Nick now is going to take us through a bit about self-motivation and
Yeah, so we mentioned before that there's two aspects to this interview, which is resilience and motivation, and they work hand in hand. And it's a case of there are three pillars that we like to reference when we think about motivation. And those three are a goal, a why, and the last one is repetition and renewal. So I'll just go through these. A goal is what you're aiming for and what you're hoping to achieve right now, or in the near future, or perhaps even in the long term. And these goals are, they have to mean something to you. And these, if you really want something to be achieved, I find the best way of ensuring that is to have it written down. As you're writing it down, you can visualize that you yourself are achieving whatever this goal is, and also to have that sense of accomplishment that, yeah, even as I'm writing it down in its conception, it's as good as done. I'm writing it down and it's as good as done. And I'll lead that on to the next pillar because they're all interlinked in their own way. So the second pillar is a why. And this is more, what kind of life are you trying to achieve through your goals? So you'll invariably have more than one goal. And this will be like a broader picture or a tapestry of what you want to achieve in life. What kind of house do you want? What kind of career do you want? What kind of impact do you want to have on people's lives? And that all builds up to be, what kind of a person do you want to be? And this is what we would say is your why. And this is the driving force as to when issues become tough and when you need your motivation to complete and move on with your goals. And it's so essential to have the goal match up with your why, because if you find that your goal is perhaps for the benefit of someone else, we catch ourselves doing that, where we say, hey, I want to do this because it would make this person feel good, but it doesn't quite match with what I want to achieve in my life. There'll be a disconnect there, and that goal just won't be achieved. So it's a nice little validator for your goal. And then that'll bring us to our final pillar, which is repetition and renewal. So this is a repetition and a renewal, a revisiting of your goal and your why each and every single day. We have to take a shower daily, and we need to be motivated daily. So when you've written down and visualized your goals every morning or every night, whenever is comfortable for you, you can take out that list and you can revisit them. And better still, you can update them if they're not quite matching with you anymore. And then from something that's quite static, maybe you've made a goal 3 or 4 months ago that you've not even seen or thought about ever again. What are the chances of you actually achieving that? Not much, usually. So when you're carrying your goals with your life moving forward with you, it's so much more likely that the steps that you take each and every single day will be leading towards where you want to be. And not only that, it will reinforce the ideal kind of life that you want to take. Now, there's another aspect to this, which this is all internal, but there's also an external element, which is doing what our listeners are doing now, which is listening to inspirational speakers. That's an excellent form of motivation, and it'll help you boost up and get more fuel to carry on with what you need to do from today. You can also have people in your life who are in your confidence, who you believe wouldn't be able to pull you down, or that you aren't worried would cast doubt on what you're trying to do, even if they mean well. And you could bring them into your confidence, tell them about what you want for your goals. And last and certainly not least is mentors. And these are often quite overlooked, but these mentors are people who are now where you want to be in the future. And they don't have to be doing exactly what you want to do, but they need to be within the same realm or the same profession, ideally. And they will give you expert advice to help you avoid the mistakes they've made, and then move on, and they'll give you advice and timing as to how to proceed. Now, I'll just also touch on the hallmarks of motivation. So leading on from the pillars, there's the hallmarks, similar to how there's hallmarks of resilience, there's hallmarks of motivation. And I just wanted to make a point that the goals, ideally, they should be SMART goals. So that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-driven. You can look these up online if you're not too sure about what they are, but I would really recommend those particular kinds of goals when you're trying to write down and visualize them. And it really helps you put a fine point and draw it closer to reality. Another point is to be accountable. So this is touched on what I said from either your mentor, your other people, or even the general public. If you tell someone about what you're wanting to do, it makes it a bit more real, and people will ask you, hey, how are you getting on with that? And it'll give you less of an excuse not to sit still when you don't need to. Another point is be open to change. So there might be feedback from these people who you're accountable to, or just as you're going along with your goals. And these will result in changes. You can't be so inflexible that you have an idea of how you want it, and that's how you're going to want it, and people are just going to have to get used to it. There is a certain extent that that's true, but also there's a little room for play where you can really optimize the route that you're taking and perhaps not make so much mistakes and slow you down on the way to where you want to be. Related to that is to be a coachable person and actually receive feedback and criticism from other people. So it's very much similar to what I said a moment ago, but really, it's really important not to be so bullheaded to just steamroller over everything. Another aspect is to practice the fundamentals in your life or in your profession or what you want to try and do with your goals. So a good example of this is if you're in a shop or something like that, how often do you actually visit the shop and understand the needs of your customers? I think that's a really good and clear example where if you're out of touch with the front line of what you're trying to achieve, you'll slowly become more and more disconnected. And it's really good just to consider what the fundamentals are in your life and revisit them as best you can. And lastly, and most importantly, I mentioned this during the goals, but that's to visualize the best version of yourself. So this is taking it perhaps even a little further, where imagine if you're at the end of your life and we're going to pick the very best version of yourself. So you're looking back across your life and you've achieved everything that you wanted to do, done everything that you wanted to do, and you are exactly who you want to be for your whole life. And you can just imagine the sense of accomplishment. And also you can take that opportunity to think, well, what can I learn from this experience? What would I have done in this version of myself that I'm not doing now? And that's really a nice little extra exercise along there for the specifics of motivation.
So if you could just do a conclusion, or like, what would be the fundamental takeaways to really go deep with self-motivation and resilience? What would you say?
So first of all, it's an understanding that your biggest opponent isn't another person. Your biggest opponent is right here. It's right inside your head. So just understand that. Understand that instead of being overwhelmed by everything that you have to do or everything that is around you, plan big, but you start simple, because it's one step at a time that is going to take you to exactly where you need to get. So there was a statement that I've learned from way back when: Rome was not built in a day. And that has really helped me to remember and to even refocus. Every time I feel overwhelmed, remember it's a small, consistent step that is going to take me to get there.
So something that springs to my mind is something I touched on earlier, but is really, really important, and that is taking time to feed yourself with positivity. So I'm happy to say that everyone who's listening to us right now, I think you're certainly doing something very worthwhile at this time, and it's something that you should definitely invest and keep in doing. So that's continuing to watch Dominate the Decade, is continuing to watch your favorite motivational speakers, is continuing to read books, is continuing to reaffirm yourself, very importantly, and surround yourself with the positive people in your life. So this is the fuel that will help us get going and keep going. This is our motivation in essence.
All right, so there's this other one. If you don't manage your mind will manage you. So that is just a very simple way of putting it. So again and again, we really have to master your mind. What are you thinking about today? What are you feeding yourself with? How are you starting your day? What are you pondering on? And we believe when it is you master your mind, you will be able to master your world. So if we focus on the solution, we are going to get the solution. So focus on the solution, and instead of focusing on the problem.
For me, there's another one, which is, there's an old saying, you may fall 100 times, but so long as you get back 101 times, that's fine. And I'd like to add to that, which is the person who picks themselves up. Who's responsible for that? Who is responsible for picking you up after you fall? It's not going to be anybody else. It's always going to be you. Ultimately, it's a case of people might cheer you on, people might wish the best for you, people might not wish the best for you, but at the end of the day, it's you who have fallen, and it's also you who is responsible for picking yourself up again. So it's a case of having that confidence in yourself, and everybody who's been watching this, ourselves included, we've fallen badly at least once. In reality, we've fallen at least 100, 1,000 times, every single one of us. And that's a sense of confidence that we can just refer back to and say, well, I've had adversity before. I can get back up and do whatever this is. And if it's discomfort that we're feeling right now, it's not the first time we've had discomfort and we've overcome it, and it won't be the last time we've overcome discomfort. So it's just a nice little reminder that one of the keys to resilience within yourself is just that self-confidence that, yes, I can get back up again.
I
Take
totally agree with that, because I think a lot of people are facing it in this very, very moment.
Yes.
That's it.
Go ahead.
All right. And one thing that I just wanted to just build on all the various points we were making, in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. Always remember that through every challenge, this could be an opportunity for you. I believe it was Churchill who said that difficulties mastered are opportunities won. So you are going to put your creativity to work. You're going to give this your best shot. No matter what you're going through, you could come out on the other side. And during that entire process, we're taking time to appreciate life. Every time we've heard people said, YOLO, you only live once. Live, laugh, love. Are we really taking time to do that? Really take the time to appreciate each and every day, appreciate the simple things in life, appreciate the meaning of life. And you see, that is going to help you become motivated. It's going to help you get back up each and every day while you feed yourself with positivity.
Beautiful, beautiful points, beautiful reminders. And I really, really hope that everybody who are listening are making notes. If you didn't, you need to go back to this video. You need to take the paper and pen and just write them down, but two, take action on them. So thank you very much for joining us, people that have joined here in Zoom, and also everybody who are looking at the Facebook profile. If you have any questions to Dana and Nick, now it's the best time to leave them, whether in the chat area or whether you want to leave them in Facebook. I see currently the ones which are left underneath the Ragne Sinika's profile. Nevertheless, we will answer all the questions also that we will receive under Coral Desk profile after this video or this transmission is done. So until we have the questions coming in, Dana and Nick, what are your 3 recommendations how to dominate the decade?
All right, so I believe in 3 elements: person, passion, and connection. And I'm going to say, elaborate a bit more on this. Person, who you are as a person. Are you taking time to build yourself as an individual? And I believe my husband can elaborate a bit more on that. Are we really taking time to develop ourselves, develop our skills, challenge ourselves effectively? Are we doing that? Number 1, I see that in our lives, had it not been for personal development, we would not have been at the position we are at right about now. And it is not just that we are here. It's every single day. It's this morning, I have to feed myself with positivity. It's yesterday, it's tomorrow again. I have to do that, whether or not I'm a speaker, whether or not I believe I'm a professional. There's always ways to improve ourselves each and every single day. Secondly, are we connected to our passion? Are we really taking time to pursue our dreams, instead of just thinking about the fears, how many times I'm going to fail this thing? I remember specifically before I started doing speaking, well, my husband in particular, getting him, he is very much a person who prefers to write. He just really detests having to open up and just share with everybody. And I've challenged him to that, and I've seen how well my husband has just gotten the confidence to come out and speak, even though he's an introverted person. And I believe that is really inspiring to me, Nick, the fact that you challenge yourself that way. And that has also helped me to even challenge myself in other areas that I want to build. And it's the same thing that I want to encourage all of our listeners today. What are your passions? What are you pursuing? Are you really building on what you were created to do? What are the gifts that you have? Are you harnessing them? I believe those are the questions that we need to ask, even as we learn to dominate the decade, even as we dominate our lives. Third, and the final one, is connection. I believe connection is so important, Ragni. Just connecting to people. No one is an island. I've been hearing that since I'm very little. I grew up in Trinidad, and it's in the Caribbean, and we are very cultural people who are very close knitted. We're very connected to each other. We communicate a lot. We're a very collective culture there, and I can see that connectivity is so important. And in the age of now, we have more than ever the internet that is there at our disposal. Zoom calls, we have Facebook Live, we have Instagram, we have all the resources at our reach. Are we really reaching out to connect with the resources that can help us, that can help us build professionally, that can help us build personally, that can help us build our spiritual lives, our emotional lives, our mental health, our physical health? That is absolutely important. And I believe that is so needed for assisting in helping us. Nick, would you agree, or do you have anything to share on that?
So I agree 100% with those 3 points, which is person, passion, and connection. And I think I'll just elaborate those in my own thoughts. So who you want to be as a person. I think want is a very powerful word rather than who you are, because you are always a work in progress. And there's no sense in placing and pronouncing a judgment upon you, upon yourself, if there's still room for improvement, and everybody still has room for improvement. And that gives you a little bit of leeway, so you're not quite so hard on yourself as you progress along. So my wife mentioned that I haven't had the huge amount of experience with public speaking, and I had quite a bit of anxiety to deal with that particular aspect. And I think over time it was just entertaining the thought that yes, I could do that, and then building up and taking the time to practice and set goals for myself and say, well, I'm going to do this particular topic and I'm going to just make a start. And it's incredibly uncomfortable to do that to begin with, but that's just universal for anything really worthwhile that you want to do, where you're just building yourself up a little bit more. You're building yourself up as a person. And that is something that really just applies to anything. And you can create yourself into almost anything that you want to be just by doing that. And more often than not, you'll notice that little bits, step by step. You'll notice that you're just a beginner, and then you're about a little bit further, and then before you know it, you're already really great at public speaking, at your writing, at anything that you really want to commit yourself to. Passion. passion is definitely one of the essential hallmarks for how to lead a successful life and really to dominate the decade. If you're not pursuing your passion, even though it's a bit of a cliche, it's almost, you could ask yourself the question of, why are you not pursuing your passion? And even if it's not as a career, at least in your own time, why aren't you pursuing your passion? And it's okay to be on pause. It's okay to be stopped. It's okay to be started. And even just taking your first steps as a beginner, it's really important not to be comparing yourself to other people. But so long as you have that thought and that goal in your mind that, okay, this is where I want to be, eventually you'll start to take the steps. If you think to yourself and you look at your goals each and every single day and you say, hey, well, I want to continue with this passion, day after day, hour after hour, week after week, you'll slowly begin to program yourself and say, well, I might as well just start doing that. This is who I am now. And the last one was connection. And connection, I believe, is also very important, is building on the points that we'd raised earlier, which is collect yourself with like-minded people. So I've got the honor and the privilege of having a wife who does exactly what I want to do. And she's already had so much success with public speaking and communications, as well as just being a child of philosophy. And that's something that I really enjoy. And that's something that can only really be built on. There's more and more people that you can always reach out to and try and share your passion and your connection with what you want to be in life. So you have your passion for philosophy, you have the passion for building people up. And if you're entering life with that spirit, it's only going to reinforce you even through the adversities and the downtimes. There will always be people who can help you to build back up again. So it's really important to look for that connection where it's there. If you don't have any, just see if you can start with one, or even just continue down the road of your passion. And then there's people who are bound to come across you and link up with you so that you can continue what you want to do.
Perfect. We have a question. What is the milestone in your life you are most proud of?
Sorry, what was that?
Can you just repeat it? I didn't get the question.
What is the milestone in your life you are most proud of?
I am most proud of I can say, being able to help other people. I think my whole life, as a child growing up, there's something that was inside of me telling me that you have to help others. I looked at my parents. I came up from a poor background, or let's say from a lower income household in the ghetto in Trinidad and Tobago. And through the struggle that I have faced as an individual, I have learned to understand the bigger meaning of life. And the bigger meaning entails being able to help other people. So where am I right about now? My whole life is dedicated, our whole life, my husband and I, our mission is really to help other people, to motivate, to encourage people on their journey in any way that we possibly can. And while I can say that I am very happy to have a happy household, so a beautiful daughter and a loving husband. And to me, that makes me feel happy. And I want to share that the strategies that I have, or the simple things that I know, to somebody else, so that they can experience life. They too can have a beautiful life and beautiful experience. Yes. How about you, Nick?
Yes, so I would 100% agree with that, that the most powerful milestone that I've experienced in my life was that decision to commit myself to helping other people. And I think that's a very strong point for anybody, where they can say, well, they're going to reach out and they're going to try and bring other people closer to where they want to be, even if it's just a case of you don't want them to make the same mistakes that you have, something as small as that, or it could be something grand where you want to introduce a new vision that you want people to take on and enjoy. I think that decision to do that, and the first actual step for me was for my first session of public speaking, which wasn't that long ago. I can't remember exactly when, but it was, it really built up and we went from strength to strength from there.
And then we have one more question, Dana and Nick. What is each one of you grateful for?
For me, it's definitely my wife. Is it, sorry, was it what or is it who?
What? Yeah, it's what.
Sorry. Well, who is definitely my wife, but what are we grateful for? I think that's a really good question to ask yourself, and not just even in this moment, but at most opportunities that you can have just to have a reflection. What are you grateful for? And you can start off with, sometimes you won't have, you think you won't have anything, but then you'll think of just one thing, and then possibly you could write it down, and then it'll build and build and build and build. But what am I actually grateful for right now? I think it's just going to be something really whimsical. I'm just really grateful for the weather right now, and it just builds and it adds to a positive state of mind where it's like, well, the weather's great, I had good food, had a great time today. I'm talking to people about building yourself up, and that's part of my hobby. And in fact, that's a great thing to be grateful for as well, to share and talk about what you love with other people, and that's just heavenly right now.
I am grateful, apart from God, I'm grateful for people. I'm grateful for the people that that was placed on my journey, the people that I can help, the people who have helped me. And I believe that people is the foundation of life. They're the essence of life. People all across the world, different experiences. My husband and I, we've traveled to over 30 countries in the past few years. And just sharing time with people from various backgrounds, from various walks of life, with different challenges, who can bring so much different shared experiences into one. Within our experience of life, it's what makes it beautiful for us. So I would definitely say the people that we're connected to, and as my husband said, the moment, feeling grateful in the moment sometimes is what really builds your gratitude. It is not just, oh, this is just the one thing that I'm really most grateful for. Sometimes it is based on the situation that you're in. So at this point in time in my life, I am most grateful for this, being this way, being able to help somebody else, for Ragney, for this conversation, to be able to, for How to Dominate the Decade, so that we can be able to help somebody else.
And I can definitely relate when you mentioned the weather, because living in London is not something easy. And I'm admiring you, Dana, because coming from a very shiny place to live in London, it's whoever really lives in those let's say European countries, which are more and more Nordic ways, we can definitely enjoy and be grateful for great weather. So, and the last question, we're running out of time, but the last question is, who is your professional inspiration?
Professional inspiration.
I will have to go with, it's really weird, my parents. So I am a first generation graduate within my family, my sisters and I. So our parents really worked hard to ensure that we can become educated, formal education and stuff like that. But I admired how my mother and father how they've lived their life. Very simple people. My father read a lot of books, and growing up seeing him always reading inspired me to read as a child, inspired me to look at people as John Maxwell, look at people as Les Brown and Joel Osteen, and on, Jim Rohn. In my personal life, I started just on that journey of just reading and filling myself up. And my mother, her heart for helping people in the communities where we have kids coming in every single day in the house, taking in persons who may not have a place to sleep. And my parents have been opening their arms over and over. So even though it sounds personal, it's very professional to me, because it's helped me build that understanding and that foundation for where I'm at right now. How about you, babe?
For me, I think your parents are definitely an inspiration for that. They're such beautiful souls, and they've really changed a whole lot of people's lives with all of their actions. For me, I think none of these people I've actually met, but there's inspirations that I've read in books, and I've heard their voice across YouTube and recordings, and they're really masters of mastering your own mind and your thoughts, and introducing new ways of thinking. And it's a list. It's not any one person, but for right now, I think my current favorite is a man from Barbados who lived a little while ago called Neville Goddard, and he wrote a number of books and did a lot of speaking sessions where he would talk about improving your state of mind, visualizing how to achieve what you want to be. And he introduced to me, or made it clearer than anybody else, that where you are right now is somewhere that can be built upon and shaped and moved by the power of your thoughts and your intention to get you closer to where you want to be, and really manifest some things that you would never have even dreamt about had you not given yourself permission to entertain the thought of doing so. And it's really surprising how much you can achieve just by doing that.
Beautiful answers. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Dana and Nick, for joining us. If someone wanna follow you, if someone has questions that they didn't have whatever reason they had and they didn't ask it now, how they can do so? How can they contact you?
Yeah, so you can visit our website. It is www.danahaselum.com. We also can be followed on Facebook, Dana to Inspire, also on Instagram. And we will be happy to answer your questions. We can also, our telephone number, 07400193624. And if you're outside of the United Kingdom, please place +44 at the front of the number. So I'll repeat it, +44 07400193624, and we'll be happy to connect.
Beautiful. What would be your final message for everybody who listened in today, or who will take a look at this video a little later?
For me, I think my final message would be, don't learn to do, but learn in doing. So that can apply to absolutely everything. And I think the strongest method of learning, once you've made your mind up to do something, is just to do it and practice it. So be that public speaking, writing, playing a sport, developing your career, try your best to get experience in it. And that will be a surefire way to get as much progress for learning as possible.
And mine will be, live to learn, and you'll really learn to live. So just keep learning, keep looking at Dominate the Decade. Love you guys. Thank you so much, Ragnar, for having us. Thank you so much. I believe that this session has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for giving all your knowledge and sharing it with us and inspiring. I really hope that whoever you are that you are watching now, and if you have been seeing the series before, you know what I'm going to say now. So first of all, you need to make the notes, but most important part is take action on those. And we say that you need to take action on those points within 48 hours. Why? Because there's so much information that we receive on daily basis that just whatever you heard today, and if you don't take the action within 48 hours, it's going to be or stay only on the paper. So you have the power to change your life today. You can become the hero of your own life, but you can also become the hero of someone else's life. How? By sharing this video. We never know who exactly today needs to hear those motivational words, or they need to understand what the resilience really mean. So be the hero of that someone else's life, which you might not even know today, but just by doing one finger movement, which is clicking on the share button in Facebook, you can become the hero. So thank you very much for joining us. We will start our 9th week on Monday. Yes, the 9th week. I can't believe it myself, but we are already on our 9th week, and again we will have a lot of interesting people. So join us on daily basis from Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. Los Cabos, Mexico time. If you're watching from UK, it's always 6 p.m. the same time, same place. And lots of love, and have an incredible weekend. Enjoy yourself and enjoy your life. And Dana and Nick, my gratitude. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.